In this video, we're going to look at how to do template overrides in Joomla using Easy Layouts. Hey there, Joomla fans. Tim Davis here. I'm a Joomla fan too, and thanks for tuning in to Watch Me Work live stream number 42 here on the Basic Joomla Tutorials YouTube channel. Thanks for your support of this channel and for tuning in, and we'll get right to the topic at hand very soon. Just want to remind you that next Monday is Maintenance Monday number 100, and we'll be giving away a $100 Canadian Amazon gift card to somebody who watches and finds out how to enter for that. Then maybe we'll have some other things. Who knows? But anyway, so thanks for tuning in today. Don't forget to head over to basicjoomla.com/giveaways and enter this month's giveaway. And a new prize at it this month is a membership to J2 Store. So go and enter there. So today we have a special treat, actually a special treat because 2 weeks in a row we've been interviewing someone. So that is great. I posted that I'd actually done my first template override in Joomla. I tweeted that out a couple of weeks ago, and Tony Partridge said, oh, he says, you can do that in Easy Layouts. So I'd love to do a session with you and show you. So that's what we're going to do today. Tony is married, has a couple of kids. He lives on the Isle of Man. And he is a developer and works for J Events, Your Sites, and Easy Layouts. So if I can figure out how to change the screen properly here. There's Tony. Welcome, Tony.
Hi, guys.
Thanks for coming on to the channel today. Tony, tell us a little bit about your Joomla story and how you ended up where you're at now in Joomla.
My Joomla story, blimey. Goes back probably about 11, 12 years when I first started Joomla 5. Really enjoyed it. It was CMS for me, just worked well. Really got into it for local sport clubs, just as a hobby, really. Then I started using J Events as an events calendar, and it was great. Really was, but I saw a lot of features that could have been done or slight improvements. And Gary picked up on this on the forums and brought me on board. And from there, I've just started developing more and more, doing more for J Events. Then we launched Easy Layouts, doing more on that. And also recently launched Your Sites on top of that as well. 3 product ranges, and it just keeps us busy, really. So yeah, that's a simple, brief outlook on my Joomla career. Yeah, we'll be around for a while. We're loving the way Joomla's going and where it's heading.
Yep. Yeah. Amen to that. I like where it's going too. How long have you been doing it as your full-time job?
Full-time job now would be about 3.5 years.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah, and it's nice to work from home.
Now, are you doing every single website on the Isle of Man?
No, I tend to avoid local websites, believe it or not.
Yeah, I hear you. I can see how that'd be good.
Yeah, most of my work's remote. I tend not to do too much local, just because local, it's all meetings. It takes so much time, whereas remote, it's all done by email, so you can maximize your time.
Good. And fun fact from someone who lives across the ocean and across the continent away, the Isle of Man is a country. It's not just an island in the UK. So I figured that out when I was putting the thumbnail together. And I see lots of activity in chat too, because when I started out, the screen was black, and that's because when I'm broadcasting using Zoom and I use OBS, sometimes I have to click different buttons, and I didn't do it. So everyone can see us now, and Vinny can hear us because he unmuted his speakers. So anyways, Tony, let's go ahead and start from the beginning and show us what you want to show us.
Okie doke. Let me share my screen. Okay, so with Easy Layouts, we were hitting a stumbling block for some of our less advanced users where you're not a fully fledged programmer. Creating more dynamic, more complex views becomes harder. So there's been page builders around for a long time, and they work quite well. But the problem is they're per page. You can create templates, and yes, you can load that in. But Joomla has a great templating system already. Why not use that? So what we decided to come up with was just make the Joomla core easier. So we came up with a drag and drop interface, which basically allows you to move them around based on the framework you're using for what frameworks we support. At the moment, we support UIKit 2, UIKit 3, Bootstrap 2, 3, 4, or none, and then you can enter your own classes. So it's good if you can understand a bit about how a CSS framework works in terms of the classifications, which a lot of people do. It's like Bootstrap did it. You can define images and column sizes with just some simple CSS classes. And a quick Google can help you get them classes. So what we do is let me show you. We bring in a simple drag and drop interface. So if I just go so from here, this is where we create a new layout.
And you got to that by going to under.
Sorry, it's components, and we go to EasyLayouts.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So we create a new layout. So say, for example, we've got this item, this article, blog item 8. It just looks a little bit of a mess. And if we include images, or say we want to move the details to the bottom of the screen, if we want to move details to the bottom, we've got to then custom make it. If we want to adjust it a little bit more, add custom fields in certain places, say we want to grid it, you can't do that without a template override. And template overrides are great because you can apply them to a singular category. Since Joomla 3.7 with custom fields, you can use content for almost anything. For small to medium websites, if you want a locations directory, a cars, a real estate, you can use it for so much. You really can. So this was the whole intention of coming up with EasyLayouts and just allowing you to customize it and change things around a little bit. So I'll show you roughly what we can do here. We go into components, go into EasyLayouts, go to new.
Mm-hmm.
So the layout type we'll be creating is a single article. So this by default will apply to all articles. So if you want to change the standard of how you want it, just click create. And we've selected match default, so it'll just load in the default Joomla layout, which is all now gridded.
Okay.
So you've got your page heading, your headline title, your after display, custom fields. So that will load all the custom fields that are designed to load beforehand.
So this is a template. This is the stock template in Joomla.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And then if we click save, and refresh, you'll see it's exactly the same.
Okay.
Nothing's changed. But now we can start moving things around. So say, maybe in the wrong browser. Say we want to move the info block, which is at the top, down to the bottom. Let's save that.
So you just drag that down there.
Just drag and drop it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice and simple.
I just say that because your internet connection and mine's working very hard. So when you drag it, it just actually jumped down. So you just dragged it down to the block where you wanted it. Yeah.
You just click it like so, and you can see it highlights.
Yeah.
And then it'll show you where it's going to go, or you can move it into another row.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Back up.
Yeah, that caught it that time.
And you'll see it's now at the bottom.
Huh.
Just moved.
Cool.
Exactly as we wanted it to. But also, one of the things we quickly learned was with Joomla and content by default, there's no optimization for the images. So at the moment, you'll see on the previous view, log item 8, it has an image. So why is it not showing in the actual article item itself? Well, that's because I selected a intro image and not a full image. There isn't a fallback to load the intro image if there's no full image. So what we can do with EasyLayouts is we can go into the image, which is by default a full image. And we can, so what we can do is we remove the full image, and if we just go to the little plus sign over here,
Mm-hmm.
we can choose to add a new field. And if we now select the intro image, because we know that's what we use by default,
Yeah.
we can now, gone back, sorry. Sorry about that. Press
Oh,
the
don't worry about it.
keyboard.
It's nice that someone other than me is doing it on the live stream.
So I'll just go back, I'll just remove that. So if we click the plus sign, we can now go into here and select all the additional fields which are available
Right.
in this article view. As you can see, there's quite a lot. So you can just filter them out by typing, or you can select. So I selected intro image. So we know intro image has got an image. I personally, when I build all my sites, I just select intro image because it's the first one that comes to hand. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting, is because we can scale the width of the image. So if I go by default, I'll go auto, height and width, but then we'll go scaling for the image. Now, what that does is it dynamically on page load will change the image to this size.
Oh.
Because in this day and age, performance is king. It really is. So loading in a 1900 by 1200 image is a killer. So if we look at the size of the blog, you can see this isn't, that's not 1900. So if we just shrink that down now to say 600 with a maximum height of 400, that will automatically scale the image to 600 by 600, and it'll put it into a new directory called 600 by 600 in the images directory location.
Oh, okay. And is that a custom fields thing, or is this
This is built into the native Joomla fields. We've built it into EasyLayouts to do it.
Oh, okay.
Because EasyLayouts is plugin driven,
Yeah.
we handle it all on page load.
Okay.
So we check if the file exists in this size. If not, we just regenerate it.
Okay, so that's part of EasyLayouts that does that.
Yes, it sure
Okay.
is.
Cool. Yeah, that's excellent.
So what this means now is I can go, I'll show you in a minute when we go into the blog view, we could automatically adjust all of them, resized on the fly. Change your layout, you go full width, or you add a couple hundred px, all of a sudden your previous intro images, which have been resized manually, can actually now be automatically done.
Wow. That's cool, because
And then-
image management is such a hassle for, well, this is the intro, and this is where this lives, and this is this size for this view. And
Absolutely is. So if you see the image that's here, and if I just right click to view it, you'll see in the URL now,
okay.
we have 600 by 400, and that's the size we defined. And the way it calculates it is it goes, which is the highest point of the image. So if the image wasn't horizontal, it's portrait, it would then go 400 in height and shrink it down. So you're still keeping the aspect ratio of the image and keeping it in good quality. So now you'll see, obviously it's loaded. Now before there was no image, but now I've told it to load the intro image in there, that view. Your client now only needs to define the image in one place.
Nice.
You don't need multiple placings.
And they don't have to resize it.
Exactly. obviously, it's good to get them to resize it slightly and not loading up 3 megabyte images to the site.
Yeah.
Especially if you're on SSD hosting. But in general, it just makes it faster, easier. You set it to the max width, and away you go. So that shows a little bit of an intro to that area.
Okay.
And then also we can add a custom field too. So we can select anywhere in the page, in our gridding, in our columns, where we want to add a custom field. Custom field. And then it lists all the custom fields within the article view, because that's where we are. And I can select the location or an option list. And then if that has a value, we can choose to output field value label, both, or a non-formatted value, all which come as part of Joomla. Again, we're just rendering it here.
Yeah.
We're just allowing you to define exactly where it's rendered, because Joomla custom fields are fantastic.
Yeah.
I absolutely love them. They've allowed me to streamline a lot of our sites without certain heavy extensions which were impairing performance because our clients aren't using them to the full extent.
Right.
You only needed like 5% of that extension. Now come contents for custom fields. We can just do so much more. We really can. So it allows you to select. So say you wanted to have a real estate website and a blog. You can do that with com content now. And EasyLayouts makes it easier to achieve that step because now we can define a single article view to apply to certain categories, say real estate, and then one for blog. And then you can define where the custom fields are defined, whether they show on the right, the left, the top, the bottom. Rather than with a native Joomla, you can include custom fields, but it has to be in content.
Right.
And trying to get your client to manually add the custom fields in the right places all the time just would be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we can define custom field value.
And custom fields are a much easier way for many of our clients to add content. Instead of showing them, put it here, always center here. Please don't change this to pink text like you did the last time. You know, it's just like, it's just like,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's just like, here, click on this tab. There are the fields. Put in your article. Put in the title. Put in this, everything. Just enter that, save it, and then let the site handle it.
Yeah, exactly. And then when we refresh, you can see now Isle of Man just popped up there because that's a custom field on the page.
Yeah.
And that's a custom field I just told it to include. Now, what we can do is we can make it a little bit more interesting. And we can click this edit icon here. It's above this one.
Mm-hmm.
And you can define row labels. So we'll say custom field location and image. You'll see that shows there now, so we know what custom field it's going to be loading and how it's working.
Do those different rows there drag to different locations?
They sure do, yeah. You can move it inside, so you can have nested rows. You can move it up.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good.
So you can have. So you could do a 2-column grid with a 2-column grid with inside it if you really wanted to.
Okay.
Depends on your usage case. And then we can save. So that then allows us to see how it's going to load, that we know what it is, and it allows us a reference point when we come back to the layout. We know what's happening and how it's working. And when you add a new row, bear with me 1 second. That's fine. So when I created the default layout earlier, I was flying through and hadn't selected a framework. But if I go into it, these are the frameworks I was talking about before.
Okay.
So you can do 2, 3, 4 UIKit, 1, 2, and 3. You can set a default one in the global configuration, and that will just apply to all new layouts. So we know Joomla Pro will start with Bootstrap 2, so we'll save that. And now you can see the number of columns has changed, save the layout data, the changes to the text. The reason it does that is, say you've built this layout in Bootstrap 2, but you've just installed a new theme, Bootstrap 3. I now have to rebuild it all. Well, not anymore. We just select a different Bootstrap, and then it will automatically regenerate the HTML for Bootstrap 3 rather than 2.
Okay. And that's
so it massively saves you time.
For that whole layout.
For that whole layout, yeah.
So if you use so what you're saying is if you change a template and it's a different framework system, then it just adapts to it.
Absolutely, yeah. And like I was saying before, you can, not everyone wants to use a fully fledged framework, Bootstrap 2, 3, 4, UIK, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually define none. So if you're using your own custom framework, you can therefore define the classes for each row and column as per your framework. But we are happy to support more frameworks as they develop. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. One we're going to be looking at is Rocket Theme seems to be using their own classes again. So I'll need to add that one in soon. Cool. So now, because I've selected a framework and I've selected advanced options, you can now see we've got a few more options here.
Okay.
So number of columns in your grid is 1. Well, that's why you see it a massive row,
Yeah.
because we've only got 1 column. And before, the layout didn't know how many columns we could have because we hadn't selected a framework. So now we know we can have 12 columns in Bootstrap. We allow the selection. So now we can go, okay, well, we want 2 columns in this grid. Save and close. And you can see we've now got 2 columns.
Oh, okay.
So that would now be side by side, which is what you'd want. And then say we wanted to move the image up, we can just drag and drop the image up, which was hiding up here. There we go. And if we just click save, you'll see we've now got a side-by-side view.
Okay.
Now, if I wanted to just tidy up a little bit, we really should have put that down more into the description field. So what I'll do is I'll show you if we drag that down, do it quickly, change that one to 2 columns, so you just see it a bit lower down a bit more. Move you over. So whereas before you saw it at the top,
Yeah.
it will jump down to the bottom as a side-by-side view.
Okay.
As you can see. And it just allows easier control. So whilst I'm not producing anything too pretty for you right now, I'm showing you how the control can happen.
Yeah, yeah.
So as an example, I suppose the best option to show is the blog. Joomla blog layout leaves something to be desired. By default, there's too much text.
Yeah.
Images, again, that image looks great, but it's loading that size image in.
Yeah.
Too big. You don't need that for that. So you could just go into, just close that one out and go into the category blog views. So if I've already created them, as you've seen how to create them.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got category blog. Now you've got the intro, the lead, and the default. So what does that mean? So because we follow the Joomla template overriding system, that's basically each template file and how they're defined.
Okay.
So the blog is the surrounding template, which then loads in the lead item or the intro item. And then you've got your intro items going down, which we're actually setting in default for now. We'll just use the default layout. If we just publish those 3 and refresh, you'll see like the image now is resized to 400 by 400, which it can be brought down even more yet, because we only really need to load in at 342.
Great.
But it allows you to resize it, as we were stepped on before,
Yeah.
which will make the blog be faster.
And you can always, if it's like, oh, you're changing things around, I need the images smaller, you just go and change the dimensions on the template and it all happens.
Exactly. Any point, and it'll automatically apply throughout. So
Nice.
then you can go into the individual articles. And something that really bugs me is when your clients don't put a read more button in, or hey, read more.
Oh,
Why
man.
is my blog this long?
It's and I think it's partly, and I know that everyone who's watching and in chat will like this. It's nice to hang out with people that have the same frustrations.
Absolutely. Or they chuck half a HTML tag in and it all breaks.
Yeah.
It was a bit wonky. Yeah, I think we've all been there. We all know how it works. So what we did was we enhanced it. So as here you can see the article intro text.
Yeah.
Well, now we have field options. We can tell it to strip all HTML. Yes, please. Yes, please. As we could say, restrict number of words.
Nice.
25 words. And click save. So now we click save. all of a sudden,
Oh yeah.
25 words. But what we can do is we can improve on that a bit more.
And
The
was
read
there
more link,
was there something to click on for the read more there? I missed that.
there isn't one yet.
No. Okay. Great.
So if we go into the read more here
Yeah.
and edit it, we've now got field options. Always show. Yes. When you click save and close, read
There you
more.
go. Yeah.
So whilst not necessarily the prettiest layout, you can get the gist of how it works. And it just makes it much easier. But not only that, you can go into more advanced methods of actually styling the edit page for your clients. So if you wanted your clients to submit an article, or say they're doing a blog post, you can create an edit view for blogs. So when your client's posting a blog, they don't have to have all the additional fields. So they're quite complex when you look at them, but it allows you to give your client a much easier editing experience. We'll just create an article edit page. Because I know, for one, there's way too many Joomla when you're creating articles that the client just does not need to see.
Yeah.
So we'll call this article edit blog. We just save that, and then I'll go into.
You were using dummy content to set up the sample size.
Yes, I did quickly. So if we create a new layout, it looks as normal.
Yeah.
It is exactly what it is. Personally, when we want to apply it to blog, let's save it. So
now, you applied it to that blog as a Joomla category.
it is, yes.
Okay.
So all categories within EasyLayouts are Joomla,
Okay.
because at the moment it only applies to Joomla, mainly content. We also apply it to a couple of modules, and we've also got our own custom filter module, which I'll touch on in a little bit. But we're also adding custom filters all the time. Anything people request that we think is actually going to be used, we can look to add. Just by, as an example, one I added the other day was a month filter. So a particular client had a blog with, say, about 500-600 blog entries. We wanted a month filter, which was denoted by year. So it said 2009, and then it went current month all the way back to January 2018 and back. So your client can then filter by a month. So we added that in just because it gives a bit more option. So I'll got sidetracked a little bit there.
No, that's all right.
But if we go into edit the title, you can see you can have inline or break. Same settings throughout. If there's conditional display settings applicable, it will show fields. So I'll just enable advanced options again. There's a reason for this, just so I can show you with a little bit of HTML we can add at the top. And we can go. So say you have a client which always enters 600 characters for the title. Please do not have long titles. 100 calls. Even that's too long.
Yeah. Is there a way to just restrict them so they can't anyways?
Not at the moment.
No, okay.
To do that would require JavaScript. One of the main reasons we created EasyLayouts was to reduce that. So page builders, as an example, add in all their own JavaScript and CSS to render what they're building.
Yeah.
That on top of your templates framework, it all adds overhead. We don't. So all we're doing is applying your framework, your themed framework classes to the layout. so it's much
So
faster.
it's just like a self-driving car. At some point, you need someone to drive it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I'll just show you here. It says where to use a layout. We'll go administrator because you may only want your clients at the front end of the website adding articles, or the back. It's up to you. So I'll just refresh that now. Sorry. So as you can see, the top says now please do not have articles. And we've got the tabs here. You've got your main tab, you've got your publishing, and then we can start reducing these down. So these are just tabs we've custom coded in to show you when you edit that you can add more to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got your main tab. So you could start removing a lot of this out, having it single display. You can
now, if you were to if you change the category to uncategorized, does that change the layout that's available?
It sure does.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. I wasn't sure when you assigned it to the blog category. I thought, oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Imagine you've got a client posting loads of blog articles. Well, they don't necessarily need to know about your page content or your custom fields in relation to another category. You can really refine it to how they submit. So you can almost get it down to a publish date, time, a title, an alias, and a description with a category selection.
And if you're using the ACL, you can actually restrict one user to a particular category, and then they only see what they need for that.
Or you can actually restrict the layouts in EasyLayouts to a particular ACL as well. So if you only want public to have or guest as an example, say you've got someone submitting articles because you're doing a local intranet, you may have public submitting articles. You could apply a base edit page for people to submit. So it really does give you a whole host of options to allow full customization without the overhead. Yeah, absolutely. And I use this now. I think I've got it launched on around 200 sites in total, just because it allows so much more customization. So basically what you can do, and it's something we're going to look at adding to our site once we rebuild it, is a showcase/download. So you could download layouts for certain frameworks because we've got an import-export function.
Okay.
So say you create your blog, say all your clients use Bootstrap 3, as what one of my main clients does, and that's fine. So they have a default blog for all their clients. They know what they want it to look like, so you just import it into all the new sites, and away it goes.
Okay.
Which you can just do, so you can export, as you can see, make a selection from the list, export, say, both single articles, and it saves it as a JSON file, and then you can just import it again.
Yeah.
Browse, layouts, and just import. And it creates them unpublished, and they're ready to go. So that's it. Just import it again, and we can use it.
And or even just tweak it for an individual site just slightly.
Absolutely, yeah. But you've done the base of the work. You've done the drag and drop. You know how it all going to work. Or, for example, say you know your view and you know how it wants to look, but actually you're importing it into a different framework that we support. But you can still import it, and then you just change the framework. Mm-hmm. So if you have got one client running Bootstrap 2, you've got another client running UIKit 3. But they want the same blog layout as the other client. But you can just import it.
Okay, and change it over to the thing.
Yeah, exactly. Once you import it, you edit it, and you just change the framework that it's loading. And it really does just allow you to do it quite simply like that. What I'll touch on next, I suppose, will be the filter module.
Okay.
So, obviously, when we're using comp content, you need more control over filtering. So we added in our own custom module, which is part of EasyLayouts. So if I edit the EasyLayouts filter module, which is called exactly the same when you create a new layout,
mm-hmm.
You can see I've already created one with a submit button and a custom field. Custom field called location will display both label and value. You may want it that you don't actually want to show a label because you're not fussed about accessibility or it doesn't fit in with your design. You can choose just to show the value, which would be basically the input form without the labels class. And then you can do type of match. So the type of match is, this is a text field. So this particular custom field is a text field, and we want to match if when we search it matches exactly. Now, say you've got a location. It can be Isle of Man. Funnily enough, I've got one entered as location Isle of Man. We can choose an exact match starting string or include search string. Now, you'll know this can be quite a powerful little feature because if you're searching for something, you tend to want to start with or include search string. And just save and close that. So that will show the custom field which we've created and we saw before called Isle of Man, and then it'll create a submit button. So save and close that. That's a layout created for the module. Okay. I'll go into the module and EasyLayouts content filtering module. Again, same as you create a normal module, it's there. EasyLayouts content filter module. And then you can say specific layout to use, custom field filter on. If you wanted to, you can edit it. It'll just pop it up and show you it here. So you can see what it is that you're using as well.
Okay.
Set the target menu item. So as an example, say you've got a filter module on one page that you could have above it. Search our blogs today. And it could just search your blogs. Instead, your entire site or every content, it could just search your blog. So you'd want to point that to your blog menu item. At the moment, our homepage is a blog menu item.
Right.
So we just select homepage. And that basically will mean when people use this form, it will redirect them straight to the target menu item, which would be home. Because we've set always use target menu item.
Okay. And how does that look on the front?
I'll show you that now. I'll just save that now. So that's it here.
Okay.
So now if I touch search, you've now got one article.
Nice.
Which is that custom field location. Now you can also, if I edit that, I can now add in, say I want a category filter. Article category, placeholder, article category. Category. And we just display it inline. Inline basically means that we don't render any HTML, or we can break line, which forces it to render below. Okay. And then you can choose with the category field. Basically, every field has its own options, usually. So in the category field, we've got the option now to include results from subcategories. No, we will. Or auto submit filter on selection. Personally, yes. That can be annoying if you've got multiple filters, but say you've created a blog view and you just want to add a category filter to the top, then, well, actually, you want it to submit on selection. And then you can also include these categories in the filter module drop down as well.
Okay.
But we want to include them all. When I save that and I refresh, we've now got a category filter at the bottom.
Okay.
Now, if I select uncategorize, there's nothing that matches Isle of Man. But if I filter by blog, I've now got my item. And the same again.
There's all the blogs.
Yeah. I've broken some HTML line before, I think, when I did the advanced view. But
well, that's really cool because search is another awkward thing in Joomla.
It is. There's just, I think it came to a point where you're trying to cater for too many people. Whereas Joomla 4 is looking really promising with a new search module. That is looking really good. So, yeah. But again, you're still limited on the filters because you just don't know what everyone's going to use. So this is where EasyLayouts comes in for small to medium websites.
Yeah.
It really is great. We can then, as an example, we can go to menu items, just to show you a bit more on the filtering side. If I go to home, because it's a category view. So we've added in our own tab here called filtering custom field conditions. So now this is where it gets a bit more interesting.
Oh, yeah.
So we can now filter this entire menu item based on the custom field. So we can say where location is equal to a given value, we can type it. Or we can go, well, our option list equal to Tony, Tim, or you. Yeah. We can tell it to filter by them by default. So if I save that now, I go to home. I haven't actually applied it. It's because I've updated them all.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, but you get the point. You can add custom field and constraints quite easily with our custom field constraints, and you can do it based on show the articles when they match all constraints. So you can be really strict when they match any. So if you've got 20 constraints because you're trying to exclude certain things, you can match it that way, or you can tell it to hide when none are matched or all are matched.
Okay, that's so that gives it like it's already with the filtering for menus. What's displayed is you can be pretty precise, but this really gets it right down.
It does. What really annoyed me was when using the blog view, because I use the blog view pretty much all the time. It's one of my primary views, and what I started noticing with it was when you were having multiple nested subcategories, you may have some that you don't want to include within that, but you want it structured like that still, but you don't want them to show. So what you can do is exclude these categories. So you can then actually go in and exclude categories. So even if you're including subcategories, so say you've got blog, events, news, announcements, archive. Okay, but I don't want. They're still blogs. Yes, they should still be an archive. They're just archived in an archive category, but you still want them to be accessible, or but you don't want them to be showing in this particular view for a reason. You can exclude these specific categories, and that helps a lot. Really
another example is when we create pages. So someone submits a form, and we want them to go to a thank you for submitting. Your contact will be in touch with you. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, where do I assign that to? I don't want it showing up suddenly. And then you can even create a category which is just like mechanical or something like that and assign things and say, just don't show that.
Exactly. You can just tell it to exclude it completely. And it applies. So even if you tell it to include subcategories, we won't because it's being excluded.
Yeah.
Then another bugbear of mine was tags. You may want to filter a menu item by tags because that's what you're using. I can't remember the scenario that I was using it in, but the client was using tags for a particular reason. And we really wanted to create 3 article views which filtered by this tag so we could get the article display in a perfect ordering. So that's where we came up with filter by tags. So now you can filter your article views by tags.
Nice.
But also you can do then filter by logged in user. So say you've got a user that's a semi-multi-blogging site, you can then filter by that user's articles.
Okay.
They can see just their own and go in and edit if they want to, or just view, manipulate as they see fit. Certainly gives a bit more control.
And create a menu link that only shows up when they're logged in, so they can just, which is my articles, and they go and that's all they see.
Exactly, yeah. So a great example is a blog or a real estate site where the client is having multiple team members on the site submitting articles and entries. It allows them to quickly see and filter and view. But there may be times where you want to display want to change the display order as well of your items. Mm-hmm. And with that, you can just enable the override item display order. You can choose to filter by custom field as well, which will basically be ordered them by that custom field as the primary filter. Sorry, it's a primary order value. So at the moment, they're ordered by date order, I do believe. So this will then allow us to order by this custom field, then date order. So you want to have them in group by location, say.
Nice. And you're doing all this in Protostar, which is very light to begin with.
Yes. Yeah. We can do it in any. I do have UTheme enabled, a UTheme theme installed, I believe.
No, I just think a lot of times when you go with a template that's prepared, you spend your time tearing it down, and you still have that stuff there. Whereas here, in this case, you're starting and you're building up, and only what you have.
I know your sites and how you focus on the views. It's great to start at what Joomla provides, and that's sort of what I want to show with. I didn't want to show you a theme.
Yeah, no, which
looked really pretty and really refined, and go, yeah, you can have that, and you think you can have that from day one. Well, actually, a lot of that might be controlled by the theme.
Yeah.
But what this goes is what can be achieved just by drag and drop with no additional JavaScript, no additional CSS, using your theme's native framework, providing it's Bootstrap 2, 3, 4, or UIKit 2 or 3. The majority are.
Yeah, because I've been I've been doing a lot of stuff lately with Asteroid framework, and I think it's 3. I could be wrong. If Chayton's in chat, he can tell me. But yeah, so when I see this and when you could convert it, that's really nice, because for some of the sites, a lot of my clients, they're not going to pay me to build up from to something. They want something going in a certain look, and I can start out with that, and that's great. And that's one of the things about Joomla is that there's so many different options for what people need or are looking for. Because this is wonderful and powerful. Someone who's just starting out doing Joomla is probably not going to throw themselves right into this. They're going to start out with the page and put their pictures up and stuff. And
exactly, and they'll get into something like EasyLayouts when they realize they're constrained by, you just want to change a little thing.
Yeah.
But they don't want to get into development.
Yeah.
Because that's what you'd have to do.
And that's great, because Joomla is that for so many different people, where they're coming in or what they're doing or what they want to be able to do, and that's great.
Absolutely. But even for myself as a developer, I find just using EasyLayouts, once you know sort of how you want the view to look, you can just drag and drop it in a matter of minutes. You don't have to load up the files, read the code, edit the code. Okay, well, conditional display, because you can do conditional display in EasyLayouts as well. So, when you're going down that view, now you need to know PHP. And then that's where you really get worried as a non-developer. So it just gives you tighter control, an easier display. But something I've just thought of while you were talking about views is that I didn't touch on was that you can load modules into our views as well.
Oh.
So as an example, I'll use the category blog. So quite common occurrence for blog views is you would have a category filter at the top right or top left, and then where you're from. So what we could do is we could just add a new row in, move that to the top. And when you add a new field, this is the same on all the views. So you can actually build a view entirely of modules if you wish.
Okay.
Wouldn't really advise it, but you could.
Yeah.
And then you can do load module by position or by name.
Huh. So
you could then just load in the module by position, which actually I don't want to load it by position because I want to show you one the filter. But if you load it in by name, and then it shows all the modules currently got created, and then I can just include our EasyLayouts content filter module. Let me just enable Bootstrap on this one.
So, for instance, in this case, you might have a module that has social media buttons, and that's where you want it.
Exactly, yeah. This, for example, this is a blog view. So this one's a containing view for the individual blog items. So now you see I've got the blog view at the top. So say if I just to refine it a little bit more, if I go into the filter module and I just remove your custom fields and your submit button, and you just click save. And I refresh it. So now we've got a category, and I can quickly filter by category. Click of a button. And that then is confined to that view. Or it can be used on the right, like you see we've been calling it here. But because we've called it directly there, it gives us much tighter control over how we want to display. You can even call a module technically on every item, although I wouldn't necessarily suggest it in the list view. You can do it. It depends on your usage case. You may have a usage case which says you've got a custom HTML module which loads in all your tracking or dynamic scripts or ads. You could do that. It just gives you a whole control over that view.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's a nice way to, if you've got a lot of categories, instead of having a drop-down menu that has 15 categories, yes, it's right at the top of the page. It's like, hey, I want to go to a different page. Click on it, and you're there instead of going up and over and down. And
yeah, you could be there for quite a while. And I just double check if I've got it in this version. Month selector. So this is a month selector I was telling you about before that I've just recently added.
Okay.
Which is, again, it's great if you've got a blog. So what we would tend to do is we click, say, start publish date. So this is how far back in years that the select list will go. So by default, I've set it quite far back in the past. I'm assuming you've imported a lot of articles, like I had to at the time. And we'll just go month selector. The layout label is what it'll show, and the filter form label is how it shows in the front end. So as you can see, it's a month selector there now. And now we've got the month selector, and it shows a nice list. You've got 2019, we fall back, 2018, we go back. So what's the oldest one we've got in here? That one, I'm not showing the date.
Yeah.
Let me, just so I could see roughly. They're all quite new. Okay. So if we go, because we do it from the published date, not the created date, because it's usually when you'd want to. So say we went to July 2018. And sorry, with the month selector, it's the same as a category. It allows, I need to submit that actually. It will allow you to auto submit. I've just not got that in the latest. I just had a submit button for this one. Back to July. Submit. Which month did I select? It was not 2017, that's why.
That's your fault for not preloading 100 articles with different dates all the way back on this demo site.
I know, right? I think I may have an old version where I haven't actually finished the query on this view. But basically, it allows you to select by month, and I'll make sure I get updated for the next release because that hasn't made it into the current release yet.
Okay.
But yeah, so you can filter your articles and your blogs quite quickly and easily.
Yeah, no, that's nice, especially I can think of one site where I have certain things that if you start posting articles that are seasonal, and someone thinks, I'll see what they wrote back in December of all the different Decembers, you can just skip back to that instead of having to keep going through page after page, viewing by date.
Absolutely. Another example is say you've got a publishing company who they do like daily or even weekly publishings. They can remember you posted in July, but they can't remember when. Okay, well you can just load it quickly.
Yeah.
And you can see the July releases, or did we do 4 releases in that month? Yeah. Well, actually, now you can find out.
Yeah.
So it certainly helps you refine what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
We did. I'll just see if it works in this view because I haven't tested it yet. We've also added in an ability to do a floating system. Like I say, this is just a fresh setup because my computer had crashed prior. So a float view, which you can see is here, float layout. It allows it to dynamically display content blocks. So if I go yes, we can choose how many items per row. We'll just set 3 for now. I'm not 100% sure this will work with this version, but there you go. So it loads it in. Very similar to how Joomla does it, but it does do it dynamically as well. I would shrink the screen if I can. Before we do that, you get your standard, and then as it comes back in, it's not working too well with that view. But again, it's like a parallax type theme, so the way it pulls in and adjusts is quite neat.
Excellent. That's cool.
So the whole idea is it just gives you more control. I have to edit the files, and it really, you could almost. We thought at times whether we could almost make it as part of a theme, and where your Joomla template just loads the JavaScript and the CSS, and then you build everything from there on. Certainly something we've looked at, because it is so light. It really is. Is there any questions?
Well, I'm gonna go to. I'm gonna see if I can figure out how to invite anyone into this call. If anyone wants to ask some questions, there's stuff happening in chat, but no, that's really cool because I mean we're familiar with templates as far as how they handle the look, but now this is just templating to affect the organization within the look. And
Absolutely.
There's some stuff happening in chat here. Now here's going to be my weakness is trying to. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Somewhere down here, I'm going to find the link to this. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Copy the URL. Oh my goodness. Now I have. Right. So let me just catch up a bit on chat here while I post this in. If you want to come on Zoom, everybody, let me paste the link here. Learning curve. Where is the chat? I can't just paste it on the screen. Where? Oh, here we go. Here we go. I actually have chat up on my laptop, and so I can't drag over to it. But if you want to come on Zoom, everyone, there's a link in chat. So catching up here past all the comments about the debacle of me not having the camera on at the beginning. Let's move this over here and also to view options. I think we can do side-by-side mode. Okay. Vinny says that with a combination of easy layouts and articles anywhere, he can do all kinds of cool things. So Vinny has a site, I Love Old Time Radio, and he's using easy layouts on that. The home page is a category layout that easy layouts controls and displays only what he wants. And he says the support forum is very helpful and that Tony himself has helped him on several occasions with some issues that he was having.
Awesome. Hi, Vinny.
Vinny might actually come on here. I was thinking he might, but anybody should come on Zoom. Ivor says, maybe a stupid question, but can you make a site with a page builder and add easy layouts on this page for fine tuning?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. So basically a page builder usually is controlled into the content of the page. So what we do is then we're above that. So the page builder should be within inside us. So yeah, absolutely. Shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
If you do have any issues, do let us know.
What was that, sorry?
If they do have any issues, do let us know. And we're happy to look into it.
And Vinny did comment that you'll slow down your site with all the stuff you are loading. Doing that, but I guess the more you do, you're more going to. But that's what caching is for. Use your tools.
It is, yeah. But what Vinny's pointing on there is you'll slow down your site in terms of you're loading all the additional assets like JavaScript and CSS.
Right.
The page builders are great, like I said, and so are templates. But basically, you're loading two versions of JavaScript and CSS.
Okay. Vinny says what he likes about Easy Layouts is it uses the Joomla core articles fields override system and not its own.
Yeah.
Which you were talking about. Yeah, so it keeps it light.
Yeah, and that's basically the goal, because in this day and age, performance is key. It really is.
Yeah.
SEO now is so focused on performance as well. You have a slow site, you're just not going to get anywhere.
Yes.
So trying to deliver you the fastest possible site, because as the internet expands, we're trying to push to more areas of the world which don't have these amazing fiber connections to your home.
Yeah.
They're still stuck on slow 3G, if not 2G. Trying to view a 5 megabyte site on your mobile phone in these countries could take hours just to navigate a couple of pages. So the smaller the site, better the experience for the user, the better it is for Google, and the better it is for everyone.
Yeah, for instance, someone who's often watching watching videos here and is in chat is Mary, and she lives in the third world part of Washington State. It does not. She's rural, so she doesn't have good internet there. So
no, well, you see, like you touched on caching there, and caching's fantastic. It works well. Caching's more for database and PHP level optimizations, whereby when it's viewed on the site, say you've got all your queries, pull in all your custom fields and all your articles and all your additional bits and bobs, it knows how to load it, so it caches it. So it doesn't have to go, hey. It can just go, hey, load. So it's much faster. But the faster you make it without caching, the faster it is with caching.
Yeah, and caching doesn't make the stuff that has to be downloaded smaller. I mean, you have gzip, but still, if you're loading a ton of stuff, you still have to load it. So
exactly, you can tell with like htaccess rules and things, you can set it so your browser knows not to reload the asset on every single page, but you've still got the first load. So that first time someone's trying to access your site, you've still got to pull it all down.
Yeah.
Or if you're on more pages and you've not had an asset that's on that page, you've still got to pull it down.
Yeah.
And until it's down, that's then when caching comes into effect, is once it's down on a browser side.
And the neat thing we've looked at, I think it was on a Maintenance Monday, was Jot Cache. You can actually pre-cache all your pages on a cron, so that can help too. But
that helps a lot. I've used Jot Cache on quite a few sites.
Yeah.
Because one of the bugbears for me is if you don't have a massively busy site and you enable caching, well, potentially what you could actually be doing is slowing down your site for your users. Because if you have caching that's got a lifespan of 15 minutes, but you only get a user once every hour, that user's having to wait until your site's recached. So actually, it can have a negative effect in that aspect, because to generate the cache does take time. So that's absolutely where I'd recommend Jot Cache. where you want to enable caching, but you want to do it on more of a cron basis.
Yeah, I have one of my sites I change on Wednesdays and on Saturdays, and so I set jot cache. I set the cache time for days, and so
Yeah,
because the page just doesn't change, so it is
perfect.
it's there. So if a page that is cached on Wednesday and someone on Friday goes to view it, it just comes right up because it's basically a static site in that sense. But
Absolutely. And what I've tended to do is some of my clients who they don't quite comprehend how caching works. So when they make a change on the back end and it doesn't see it on the front end, it's a little bit annoying. So in that instance, I would recommend if they're not using Jotcache, Regular Labs Cache Cleaner. That's great for that. Just to the client, all of a sudden it works again.
yeah, and Cache Cleaner works great with jot cache too, because I mean it does wipe out the cache for the whole site, but it does change the it does change things
refreshes.
for them.
Yeah.
John Moholt did answer Ivor's question too about page builders, and he said most page builders have special component pages that they use where EasyLayouts uses COM content. So if your page builder can integrate with articles, you can get them to work together. So
Exactly. So yeah, page builders do have their own, but they chuck it all usually into the description text of COM content. So and we're above that. So yeah, it should work fine. But everything's different. Every program is different. So if anyone ever has any issues, just hit us up and we'll have a look into it.
And Mary says that that's Mary, who's in Third World Washington State. She's watching at 144p. So
whoa, awesome.
Cool. Well, nobody has come on Zoom. Anybody else have questions there? Vinny says, "Poor Mary."
Come on Zoom, really?
Oh, are you there?
Vinny's
I've been here for a while.
Oh man, I was there a ding dong?
There was a ding dong.
I did not hear it. Well, hello, Vinny.
Hello, Tim.
Do you have your camera on?
No, it's still packed in a box.
Still packed in the box. All right. Well, Vinny, have you ever talked to Tony?
Not personally, but only on the forums.
Okay. Well, the caller's there. What would you like to say, Vinny?
You just challenged me to come on. That's all. So I'm here.
I thought you were going to come on and gush because I know. I mean, you're doing some crazy stuff with, like you said, with EasyLayouts and UI Kit.
Well, I quite honestly, when I saw how I discovered EasyLayouts was it must have been it was a video on YouTube of a presentation when it was first being kind of like built or out there, kind of talking about what it is and why they were building it. And I was like, oh, I got to play with this. And so I bought a subscription and I haven't been unhappy with it since. It is really very easy. And the things I can do with it, with the capability of I can add CSS to certain layouts and even go so far as to really build the layout how I want it. Cause I don't like using the rows that EasyLayout creates. I'll actually just use my UI kit and create the rows within the additional the before and the after. I'll start the tag in the before and then I'll close the tags in the after. And I've gotten some really complicated ones on some of my sites where the tags are closed in another part, but they're open at the beginning. But it all seems to work really, really nicely. And then clients don't have to worry about any of that. They can just go in and fill in the custom fields, and it lays out the way they want it. Because that's the problem is most people don't know enough HTML to make things look the same, and then their blogs look so different. Every blog page looks a little different where it should be uniformed. And this allowed you to create some sort of uniformity.
Exactly. As Vinny touched on there, most people don't know the ins and outs of HTML or the full markup and the structure and how it all should necessarily work. but you can understand classings, and you can understand, all right, well, that needs to be wrapped in that by reading the documentation for the framework. You can get the gist of how it should work. And that's where Easy Layouts allows you to just drag and drop as you want it, and then just chuck in your classes or chuck in your little bit of HTML, or, if you want it wrapped, and chuck a little bit of extra padding on it with your CSS class. It just gives you that much more control without having to fully know how to code and just understand the basics of CSS, really, and a bit of HTML.
But what's nice about it is if you are a developer and you're familiar with template overrides, but this is so much quicker. You can get more done in a shorter amount of time. And if they say, oh, I don't like this, when someone says, I don't like this, and you just coded it all by hand, that's like, oh. So when you could say, all right, I could fix that. I can move this here. I can move the author tag to below, or I can wrap it really easily so it make it stylized here. And that's what I love about it, because I can go in and I can do template overrides, but I don't have to. This is easier. This is quicker, and time is money in our business. You don't want to necessarily have to code everything by hand if you don't have to.
Exactly. And like you say, it does make it quicker. As a developer of Easy Layouts with Garrett, I use it. I don't just build it and then put it up there to sell with Garrett and Carlos. It just works. It works well. So we can deliver it really quickly, really fast. And if your client knows how to use a Joomla backend quite well, you could actually give them control over it as well. So they can just drag and drop, change layouts around if they're a bit more of an advanced client. Or even if you have, say you've got a small team of say 10 or 12 people, and you're all pushing towards building loads of sites, you're churning out quite a lot. Well, all of a sudden, if you save a couple of hours creating your overrides, that's a couple of hours off every site. And potentially, if you're using a similar one for each site, but maybe a different framework or a slightly different design, additional field here and there, all of a sudden you're saving hours and hours a month by churning out the sites that you wanted without having to hand code them all. But let's all face it, we've all delivered a lovely, lovely custom layout which has been template overridden, and it's beautiful. Send it to the client, change X, Y, Z, make it look crap. That's how I want it. And you go, okay, I'll redo it all again. Whereas now you can just drag and drop it to how they want it in a quarter of the time.
Cool. Hey, John Mulholt in chat asks, will you develop support of other components other than COM content?
Well, technically, yeah, we can do. It's the trouble with that aspect starts coming with how the other components are built. Not everyone follows Joomla MVC. They don't. So it's certainly possible. We could look to allow other components to support us. Certainly, there's no reason we can't do that, because essentially all we're doing at the moment is we're creating slightly custom versions of the default Joomla layouts, which allow our config options, and then we just render it in the front end. Something we've looked into, the demand hasn't been so high, so it's been put on the back burner for a while, is actually delivering these direct to PHP files. So instead of being plugin driven, you could actually just create the template overrides and uninstall Easy Layouts, but then you lose a lot of the filtering. So that's where we noticed some of our users wanted that, but then they realized, well, if you've got to have the plugin anyway to get all the additional filtering and custom fields, well, it doesn't matter. We don't need it PHP files, but it's certainly something we could look at down the line as well.
Now, I was talking to you just before we went live about tags, because that's another component, right?
Absolutely. Joomla, yes. Com tags.
Yeah.
You mentioned about that. It's certainly
I mentioned that I would love to be, I want to, well, I'll have to figure out how to do it, but, and I think I have an idea, but to be able to add read more to the tags view, because right now tags view lists the articles in a tag that are tagged, but then there's no read more, but you only see up to the read more. So
exactly, yeah. So what we can do is for that is at the moment we don't support com tags, just because we didn't really think anyone used it that much. There's not been that demand for it. No one's asked, but it's certainly something we can look to support because, like you say, it's core. So it shouldn't be that hard to support com tags. It's a fairly simple component. Cool. So just adding the layouts for tags as well.
Any other questions? I'm just looking down at the chat screen that I have open here. So, Vinny, do you have any other questions?
I don't, but I just want to thank you for creating this program and the support you have provided so far. I know when we were talking, there was some personal stuff going on, so you were a little late getting back. But when you did, you were able to solve the problems, and I've been very happy with the program. So,
Tony, do you have a personal life?
Unfortunately, I do. I think it was about a month ago. I had a emergency surgery. I had my appendix out. I had to go open surgery, so like almost a 4-hour surgery because it ruptured and all horrible stuff. So it took me a little while to recover from that. And then, I've had other issues before, but we're looking forward to a bright future now.
Good.
Definitely. I've pretty much fully recovered now, so it's all good.
Hey, did anybody notice the 3D printer running in the background?
Yeah, I did. It was the first thing I noticed.
And the print finished while you were doing this.
Yes, it did. It's just a little mount.
Yeah, just a little mount.
For the Weiss hair straighteners to stop it burning the hands or the kids touching them.
Did you design that and print it up, or did you get it patterned from somewhere?
I got that pattern off Thingiverse. I was going to design one, but it's always good to search, see if someone else has made one first, save the time, and they had. But I did. I designed it. My daughter basically snapped a curtain bracket off the wall the other day. So what do? Just design another one and print it.
Yeah, print another one. Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah, don't need to buy a bulk of 1,000 or buy a whole new curtain pole. Just print another. It's sorted.
Yeah, nice. Alrighty, well, there's no more questions. Tony, stick around after I say bye to everybody here.
Okay.
But let's see here. How do I make myself big here? Woohoo! Yeah, Vinny said Mary's never seen me in the 1080p glory because of her internet connection, but I think she probably has been watching replays or something like that.
But she still has to download them. And
John just added a text. He'd love to have the Joomla core components supported. So, and I guess he's probably saying that, especially I can imagine since seeing what you can do, is that that makes you want to be able to touch any other part of the core of Joomla and really do what you want to use it to its fullest. So,
absolutely. Well, we support com content, which is to me and to us, it's a primary focus of Joomla. We also support, off the top, let me just double check.
You're going to make me figure out how to... Oh, yeah, I switched it.
We also support... so we support single articles, featured articles, category blog, category list, article creation, article categories, EasyLayouts modules, and also contact forms as well.
Okay. Yeah, John just typed special, especially com user.
Okay, com user. Com user is the issue with com user is there's not so much in the front end. So com user, yes, you can display people in the front end, and absolutely we could support that. I don't see a big issue with that. The biggest issue with com user is there's just not that many views, so we just didn't. Yeah, but absolutely, we can do if people want it.
Yeah.
Why not?
A back-end override for the user would also probably be good too, right? If you start throwing fields in. It becomes
more complex, com user, because of the validations for the actual user and profile plugins. But yeah, you could do. There's no reason if enough people demand it. There's no reason we can't build it. Like I say, all we're doing is creating overrides and replicating what Joomla currently does. So yeah, we could absolutely.
I mean, it would be kind of nice to lay out the profile page a little bit better.
Yeah, in the front end.
Yeah.
Now, is there changes? Is there changes coming to that in Joomla 4 to user? The layout.
Into how Joomla does it.
Yeah, like in Joomla 4, is there some revamping or something changing?
Well, technically, the whole template's changed, and there's a whole new front end theme. So, yes.
But in the backend for how users works in Joomla 4, is
Well,
there a
they
change?
just launched the new template, which I haven't got around to testing yet. Yeah, I'm just seeing they've actually put out a package, so you don't need to compile it. So anyone can test it. Anyone can have a look. So I'd revise that. I'm going to do it later. I think they have, though. I think they've refined it. Basically, they're trying. I know Brian Tiemann is doing a great job of the UX side of it, so that is changing a lot of the back end layout, because we do want to improve accessibility in Joomla.
Mary says, thank you. She's excited to use this for an upcoming project. You hit the nail on the head regarding the time spent on handwriting overrides.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie and say you won't necessarily. What's the way to word it? That it is a little bit of a learning curve. But
Right.
if you already understand a little bit of coding, it's fine.
I have to say that the one thing you should remember when you use this program is always put on the advanced mode. If you're going to do any sort of
Yes.
adding any additional code, always make sure it's in advanced mode.
Yes.
Because
You can set that by default as well.
Yes, which I have.
Yay.
Good.
But it's also worth noting you can also set whether it loads a CSS framework or not, the JS/CSS. We set that as no because we'd rather not. Obviously, because you want performance. Performance is key. Performance is king, and that's what we want.
Good. All right. Well, everybody, as I make myself. No. There we go. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks a lot, Tony. That was awesome. That was a great overview.
It was great of you to have me.
Yeah. And so, everybody, see you. Remember, Maintenance Mondays, number 100. Crazy stuff might happen. Who knows what I'll be. Who knows what I'll be wearing? But actually, that doesn't sound as bad as. That sounds worse than actually having my pictured in my mind. So. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, everybody, for your questions and ideas and support of the channel. Until the next time, enjoy your Joomla sites and God bless.